Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at SheKnowsArsenal. Yeah, you can definitely follow me on Twitter for a little bit of trolling. That's my new thing. Look, you guys, we're going to be doing instant match reaction to our game. Hibs 2, Arsenal 1. We lost. Delete the club. It's over. We're definitely getting relegated. This is the best possible indicator of what's coming for the season. Obviously, the team that started is the team that's going to be starting on the first game of the season. So, why even start the season? Just go ahead and just close the club down. No, I'm just joking. But really, though, so when we do this instant reaction, I just want it to be kind of like that healthy balance of, yeah, that's obviously not good enough, but literally it's preseason, calm down. There's just too much, it just feels like there was no break. Did you guys not get a break in between last season and now the season starting? Did you not cool down and just relax? Or are you just going to start right from where you ended and just roll that anxiety straight into the next season? Look, I know the season coming up is really, really important. So I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to be super good next season. So I understand the anxiety, but literally it's preseason. A lot of the guys that started the game, Willian, Kolasinac, Maitland-Niles, Nketiah, Nelson. These are all guys that are pretty much on the fringes. They will either not be at Arsenal because they're being sold, or they're going to be on a loan or something like that. So it's really not that deep. But at the same time, we do need to discuss some of the things that I feel like left us maybe wanting. To me, there's just the finishing was just not there. You could just tell that people were not sharp, which is to be expected, but definitely as the season, preseason progresses, finishing definitely needs to get better. I mean, Nketiah finishes that chance and maybe things are a little bit different. We hit the bar twice. Pepe misses a penalty. I mean, those are things that I'm not going to sit here and say, if that doesn't get better, it's okay, but this is the first time that they're playing after a break, so it is what it is. But let's just try to get that healthy balance between, yes, this is not good enough, but it's just freaking preseason, calm down. You know what I mean? There's about 70 of you guys watching already. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Harry in. Hey, Harry.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back, Arsenal fans. We're here.
I know we're here, back to meltdown, do our thing. We're good at it. Honestly, though, I did enjoy watching us play. It's not like I always enjoy watching us play, but I just miss Arsenal when we're not really playing. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, totally. It's just nice to see us in the kit again. It's nice to see players you don't necessarily see. It's good to see some youngsters come on. Yeah, it's just nice to see. It's nice to see them back in pre-season, because then you know what's coming, which is the Premier League season, and then we're back to normality. So, yeah, it's good, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I don't know. We're glutton for punishment, right? We just love our team, and just the roller coaster that they put us through, all that kind of stuff. And I'm seeing people saying that they're fuming. You guys, it's preseason. I can understand, so if we get to the games against Tottenham and Chelsea when we play in preseason and we're still like looking this way, yeah, then maybe I'll start freaking out. But like it's literally the first, it's just, it is what it is, and quite frankly, it feels a little bit like maybe you were maybe waiting on something to be upset about, maybe because like it's literally preseason, you know what I mean? But Usab has already come in with a super chat. Thank you so much. Usab says, I saw so many Arteta should be fired immediately tweets already. It's the first preseason game. Wow. Like, yeah, I mean, a lot of Arteta out, all that, all that. And again, that healthy balance between, yes, that was definitely not good enough. And most of the time when you start preseason, what you see is not good enough. Like I task you maybe to watch some other teams play in preseason. They will look shit just like we did, but it's not good enough, but it's literally not the end of the world. You know what I mean? But let's dive into some performances. So the thought was to do player ratings, but because like literally 60 players played, we don't have time for that. And some of them I didn't even know their names, like, you know what I mean? And I can't even remember what they did. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of pick out a couple of performances, chit chat about it. And then if you guys want to drop comments and questions in, we'll try to, get to those as well. Keep the chat box going. If you're upset, go ahead and say you're upset, but don't think for a second I'm not going to pull your comment up here and talk to you about it, because you guys, it's literally the first game. So let's talk about Okonkwo first. We kind of spoke about him in the Twitter space before, and Karan was saying like, he thinks he's a really good keeper. He has a bright future. And then he starts the game and obviously he looks quite shaky. We could see right away that like, he's probably playing on his mind. His very first team performance, we have to remember that. And I remember him kind of missing one of the, like kind of like an easy catch. And then obviously the pass back from Cedric for the first goal was not great. And then he kind of bobbled it or whatever. But what immediately happened afterwards, I felt like is exactly what we need to kind of like maybe refrain from doing is, yes, we can say, wow, that was not great, but like making conclusions about what this player is going to be like in the future right after they sign a new long-term deal is probably not the best way to support your players. How did you kind of feel about the criticism of Okonkwo after like literally just like that moment? And what does that say about the Arsenal fan base? Like we literally do this all the time. Player signs, player gets a new deal, first mistake, and we're on their back.
Yeah, I mean, we will continue to be victims of our own emotions and reactions if we carry on conducting ourselves in that way. It will just be a cycle, because what will happen is a young player will play at the Emirates, he'll feel our nervousness, he'll feel our emotion, he'll make a mistake, we'll hang them out to dry, and they won't come back for it. And that's what will happen unless the player is really, really good and they don't make mistakes, i.e. Saka, Smith Rowe and whatnot. Let's not forget, when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it usually ends up in a goal. And I think it just highlights the importance of taking your time with young players. It's a really cutthroat environment, and playing under 23s football or youth football, you cannot compare it to playing men's football. They're just two different arenas. When you're playing under 23 football, you're playing at your training ground, surrounded by your families and the players' families and the agents and everyone looking out for you. And when you're playing Hibs, even though it's a friendly, you've got 1,000 Hibs fans in there who all don't want you to do well. So it's that different pressure. So I think for Okonkwo, when that ball came to him, you could see he was thinking, oh, do I head it? And he didn't. And then he tried to kick it out and it went in. But I just think, yeah, we need to be really, really careful with how we discuss and talk about players, because within a second I got a pop-up from the Sun who have made an article about horror own goal or horror Arsenal goal or whatever it is, and it's like straight away they're on it, and then that young player sees it, he sees all the tweets, and then straight away his head's down, and the next game he plays he's even more nervous and more nervous and more nervous. So it's our duty to back all of our players, but especially our young ones who are making their debut, regardless of the mistake.
Exactly. And I think Yo-Yo makes a really good point. Can't judge any of these youngsters based off of today. And that's a certain section of players. We're definitely going to talk about some of the older players that probably should have done better. But we're talking about like Clark that played next to Marie, Rekic, Omari Hutchinson, that Francis that came in, Okonkwo. These are players that we just give them a chance. Like just give them a chance, and like, young players are affected by social media. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that we can't say like, he knows that was shocking, but do we need to like, beat that? What is it? Beat a dead horse? What is it? You know what I mean? Just keep beating it. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We don't have to keep doing that. Like, you know what I mean? So ultimately, I think, you know, he made a huge mistake and then came back and had a really nice save as well. I'm glad that Arteta took him out, you know, to keep him out of make sure that his headspace is good, because he's going to be our third goalkeeper. So if at any moment in the season he has to come in, I would like his confidence to be at an all-time high, you know? So not a great performance, but ultimately I think he has a lot more to give. So let's just give him a chance. Jonathan put in a super chat. Thank you so much. He says, at what point in preseason does the focus go from fitness and focus on tactics and playing style? Today, it really felt a lot like pass the ball around and just get back used to the ball being at your foot. It didn't seem like there was a lot of impetus to go forward or to make anything really happen. There was a lot of unnecessary passing. It was just pass, sideways, backwards, all that kind of stuff. And it just felt like get used to having the ball at your foot again. And I think once we, you know, go to Orlando, I feel like that's the time where we'll start. I don't think we're going to play in a 4-4-2. I just think that's the best way to facilitate getting two strikers on the pitch so we can get as many strikers touching. That's the only way we were going to get Aubameyang and Balogun and Nketiah and Lacazette all time, you know, so I just think that's the best way to get them going. But once we go to Orlando, I have a feeling that we'll start to see more tactics and playing style. What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I think at the start of the preseason, it's probably all about minutes and less about performance and tactics. And I think towards the end of the preseason, then it's all about tactics and performances, because then obviously you're getting closer to the first game of the Premier League season. Look, you know, for what it's worth, we've got Rangers next, which is going to be a really tough game.
Yeah.
Inter Milan, potentially Everton, Chelsea, Spurs. So we could be going into Brentford with some really, really, you know, tough results. But it literally is about getting ready. And like you say, it's only pre-season, and you know, players can make fouls and not get booked. You can get away with doing things that you wouldn't usually get away with doing. With the referees are still finding their feet, so it's just about a slow burner for everyone, and just getting used to the ball, like you say. You know, players actually getting used to running around on a pitch and playing with each other. They haven't done it for maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and there's players who haven't played with each other at all. Mari would have never played next to Clark. You know,
it's crazy
ever.
how rusty they get so quickly. Like, you don't think that they're going to get that rusty, but like, yeah, I mean, even like, I mean, the tweets were coming out during the game, like Willian and Kolasinac looked a little thick. Like, you know what I mean? They looked a little, like, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, like they look a little out of shape.
It was good to see Willian lacking that motivation still in this game. You know, it's like I was thinking to myself, are you going to play yourself for a move? Are you going to try and show the manager that you can still do it? It's like, no, I'm just going to do exactly what I do. It's just like run around and a few little passes, but don't really show any endeavour or desire. I was thinking, here we are, and then Kolasinac still, you know, putting in poor crosses on the overlap. So some things aren't going to change, unfortunately. But yeah, it is crazy to see how professional footballers, like it was almost a few of them are like, oh, wait a minute, let me get the ball. I think in the second half, Lacazette took a couple of air shots straight away, or a few dodgy passes.
Yeah.
You allow them that time to make those little mistakes because it's their first game. I'm sure when we go back to work after lockdown, or for anyone going back into the office, I'm sure people are going to be a little bit slow at doing certain things. So the same applies to footballers.
Yeah, I mean, they probably forgot their passcode to get into the Emirates. Like, I mean, they probably forgot everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so, and it was just, I think it was compounded by the fact that like Willian and Kolasinac were on the same side. And I'm just looking at them like, dang, you're a little rusty, you know, but I don't expect much from them anyway. But, you know, some players that we might've been expecting things from, you know, somebody like Aubameyang, did you get what you wanted before the game? You kind of said that you wanted to see goals. We know we didn't see that, but like, how do you feel about what Aubameyang did? I mean, what did he do today?
No, I saw some nice little bits of link-up play that you don't necessarily affiliate him with when he came a little bit deep and played a few balls out to the fullback. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really see him do anything, and in fairness, we didn't create that much. He made a few good runs. I think there's one when he was offside, but yeah, didn't see that from him, unfortunately. So I will reserve judgment on Aubameyang until the next friendly.
AK Gunner says, we just started preseason on Wednesday last week. This game had come early. Obviously, our players' fitness is not 100%, yet Plus, there is no chemistry between youth and experienced players. Use common sense. I mean, I do, agree with that 100%. AK, I don't know what people expect. I'm not quite sure. Like, you should be prime Barcelona when you come off of vacation playing next to somebody that you've literally probably never even met or you haven't really played with. The chemistry is just supposed to be there. You're supposed to be 100%. No, it's not good enough. But most teams, when they come into preseason, it's just not good enough. Like, you know what I mean? So, but again, if we're coming into those last couple of games and we're still looking like this, it's going to be like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not really that worried about it in terms of that, but I do agree. Like, I think Aubameyang maybe needs to get into it. I don't think he necessarily played, like, he didn't really do much, but also he was playing with the more dodgy team in the beginning. Like, that team was obviously not as good as the second team. Like, when they came in, they looked a lot better, so we'll see what happens with Aubameyang. But what did you think of Nelson's performance? Some people are saying that he looked good. I thought he looked very Nelson-like, good on the ball, but no end product. I remember him missing a open shot. He didn't really do much. What did you think of Nelson?
I think if you're an established squad player and we've seen you play really, really well, year in, year out, I think you can probably say, yeah, it's just about getting some minutes under his belt. But when you're a player with so much to prove or with so much potential and so many fans want you to do well, then I think you can say, well, you didn't do enough. Yes, it's only pre-season, which we get, but for some of these players, they have to go and impress. And yeah, I just saw a very safe performance. Got the ball, moved it, tried to take on the fullback a few times, but not enough. And without being too harsh on Reece Nelson, I've never seen it personally. I've never understood the hype. I'm not saying he can't be a good player in the years to come, but at Arsenal, I've never really seen him do anything which makes me think, oh yeah, let's keep on giving him chances or he can come good. So it was an okay performance. That's it. But like you say, you hope for more with these younger players. You hope for more.
You guys, again, like, there's so many like excuses. I hear you. I get it. Like, I understand it's not good enough. We should be beating Hibs no matter what. Like, I get that. We're the better team. I get that. You know what I mean? But it's just not enough of an indication of me to go so far. I understand being disappointed. Like, we should always want to win no matter what's going on. We're Arsenal Football Club. But I just feel like we're reaching a little bit into the future and making assumptions about how things are going to go and really giving ourselves unnecessary anxiety before we actually see what's going on, but so I hear you. Like, we're not supposed to be losing to Hibs. I get that. But like, I mean, some of the players that are out there don't even give a crap about being on Arsenal Football Club. Let's just call it what it is. Like, Kolasinac is just waiting for somebody to call him and let him go. Like, whatever team will come get him. Willian doesn't want to be at Arsenal anymore. Maitland-Niles wants to go somewhere else. And Nketiah is on his way out. Like, that's just what I'm saying, so it's not about making excuses. I'm not like, oh, it's okay that we're losing to Hibs. I'm just saying I'm not willing to get like worked up to the point of like, I'm fuming like Arteta out until I see more. Like, you know what I mean? The finishing was poor. That was like the main thing, but somebody that did come on that I thought was quite bright was Pepe. And remember, I told you that I had some anxiety about Pepe before the game because I just have this weird feeling that Arteta is going to drop him, not because he's a bad player, but because of Saka. Like, we know Saka will start, and then I don't see Pepe playing on the left, but I thought he looked a lot more fresh than some of the other players, and I think that's on purpose. I think players that want to be at Arsenal looked brighter than players that just couldn't give a shit. Like, you know what I mean? So Pepe came out there. He looked direct. He looked quite good. He looked fresh. The only thing I can say is that he should not have missed that penalty. He should have just buried that. But ultimately, I thought his performance was good. He isolated people one-on-one. We know he's good against like inferior opponents, but I think he kind of picked up where he left off at last season. What did you think of Pepe?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, the finishing aspect of it wasn't as clinical as his usual self, but I'm sure that will come back. They showed good desire. When he came on, when ESR came on, we had a lot more of the ball. We were getting at them a lot more. So, yeah, I think it's good to see him. I think Arteta, like I said on Space, I think Arteta will give him more responsibility this season. But I also agree that if he doesn't take his chance, I think he'll perhaps be dropped a lot quicker than other players might have been. So it's up to Pepe to take his chance, and even if it's a penalty in pre-season, take those chances, give the manager no excuse whatsoever to drop you. I think that's the sort of relationship that Pepe and Arteta have. But I do feel like we can expect good things from Pepe this season, and I was good to see him come on. He looked in good shape. He looked up for it. He looked like he had the right attitude, which can't be said for all of the players. So yeah, happy for Pepe. Happy that ESR came on. I'm not sure who that keeper was for Hibs second half, but maybe we found our Leno replacement because he was good. Pulled off some great saves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Pepe is just somebody that I've grown to really like. Like I didn't like at probably the beginning of last season, I was quite similar to you, where when he got the red card, I was like, that's it. Like I was like, that's it. And then he started to grow on me a lot more. And I'm like, wow, this player does have a lot of talent, but he just happens to be fighting for the same spot as Starboy, so it's going to be difficult. But I was happy to see him kind of pick up where he left off. And I'm interested to see how he grows into preseason and ultimately what he looks like at the first game against Brentford, because I expect him to start since Saka won't be here. Somebody else that looked kind of good too was Balogun. I thought he looked how I imagined him looking. Like if you looked at Nketiah, he looked a little bit rushed, a little bit insecure, probably like the way somebody would look when they have an unsure future. Balogun was turning on his man, finding space, finding shots. Obviously, he needs to work on his finishing, and he probably should add a goal or so. But is he making a case for maybe, if we were to get rid of Lacazette, to be that second striker? Would you trust him? Would you be afraid to have somebody so new and so inexperienced behind Aubameyang, who I think would end up getting playing time based on maybe him fitting better in what Arteta wants to do, because I do think he's better at build-up than Aubameyang is.
Well, it's a tough one because I just think we have to be careful with giving players too much responsibility, especially when we have already quite a few young players who have got a lot of responsibility in this team. But I agree. I like Balogun. I like just his all-round game. There's a lot more to his game than Eddie Nketiah. That's not a criticism of Nketiah at all, but Balogun just has more of it. The fact that he looks comfortable dribbling, playing from the left, and his link-up play was quite good. There was a few times when he got into the box with his back to goal and Pepe kind of drilled it into Balogun's feet. It didn't always stick, but he's just got a little bit more of strength about him, a little bit more awareness. Whereas sometimes Nketiah just literally just feels like a finisher and a player that closes down defenders. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Arteta does. For what it's worth, I actually thought Lacazette looked pretty decent. There were a few air shots, but when he's on the pitch, things revolve around him a little bit more, and he is more of that central figure. So perhaps Balogun could take over from that Lacazette role. But I thought Lacazette, even though, like I said, he took some air shots, I thought he looked in good shape. I thought he looked physically fit. There was that time when he held onto the ball for quite a long time and almost wriggled his way through. So I feel like the Lacazette one at the moment is still in the air. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see Lacazette and Aubameyang and Balogun all competing for a starting spot. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And I mean, there's a lot of questions about, because there's not really great performances. I mean, ESR, I thought his goal was good. I did. I do think that he was in the game, but out of it as well. But what more stood out to me in this game more than anything was how badly I don't want to see some of these people next season. Like, I think, you know what I mean? It's like seeing Willian again was like, oh my gosh, like, gross. Like, why is he here? And then Kolasinac, it's like, oh, seeing him again, whoa, and just realizing that like moving on these players is going to be so difficult, but the reality is some of them may still be here. And what happens if they are, do you worry about that just a little bit? Because it's like, if they are, then ultimately that will affect our ability to bring players in unless we do what we did last season and not register certain players, you know what I mean? Because I don't know if people realize this, but we have quite a bloated squad. Like, we're still like one of those teams. We don't have like 5 additional spots. Like, we have to sell and then bring somebody in. So seeing Willian and how he looks, and like, obviously there's like no future there. Kolasinac, even somebody like Lacazette, who I do think we need to move on from, maybe do you worry about not being able to get rid of them? And what do we do? Like, if you're Arteta and Edu, what are you doing? Because we have to bring new players in. Are you considering maybe tearing up contracts again, not registering players? What do you think?
Well, the only player that we almost have to get rid of is Kolasinac, because that's someone who's part of the old regime, and and in Arteta's defence, it's only Willian who's been signed under his book, where you think, right, he has to go. It's not like there's 7 players, which was what we had before with Mustafi and Socrates and Guendouzi and Torreira, all of these players who are on our books. I know technically Torreira still is. So I feel like Kolasinac will definitely go. It's just a matter of just finding him a club, which will obviously be hard, because you have to find a club that wants to take Kolasinac, which will be hard. And then the Willian one is more tricky. And yeah, you're right. It might be something where we actually do have to keep him, or more a case of we can't get rid of him. And then if we can't, then you have to ask yourself, well, do we use him? And if it's a no, then you have to say, cool, well, we're just going to have a guy in the squad that's going to be on 200 grand a week, who might be a little bit grumpy, but it is what it is, unless you can tear up the contract. So yeah, you're right. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what to say really. But I mean, it's a possible scenario that Willian will still be here. Yeah, because he's going to want high wages, and no one else would offer him that money, and that's a possibility, right? He doesn't find a club that he likes, or a club that offers him the money aren't willing to come to all of his agreements. So it's going to be really, really tough. It's going to be really tough to get rid of someone who's on a huge wage. So that is a criticism of the deal, 100%. But that's the way it goes. Some deals work, some deals don't.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I think we have to come to the realization that not every single one of them is going to go. Like, I'm starting to get myself like prepared for it. Kind of like last season, where I thought last summer we would get rid of more of them and they ended up staying, and I was really disappointed. I don't want to feel that way again, because they're just very hard to shift, like, unless you do some magic. I mean, I think Fenerbahce just decided to bring in Alioski, and so that essentially means Kolasinac is not going there. And they were obviously like trying to negotiate some sort of similar contract situation that they did with Ozil by just tearing up Kolasinac's contract. That's no longer on the table. You have players like Alioski just jumping in front of the line in front of our players. And I mean, do you want any of our players? Like, you know what I mean? I don't think any of them looked particularly great today. Bellerin didn't look really that good. None of them really looked great. So I think maybe from a fan perspective, just know all of them aren't going. Like, and the people that wrote their contract, besides Willian, who definitely for me is a big black mark on the CV of Arteta and Edu, because I don't know who did that, like who thought of that. But like Kolasinac and the other guys, like that's definitely post like some other executives that decided to do that. But some of them are still going to be here, and we just kind of have to roll with the punches. But now that we've brought in Tavares and Tierney, Kolasinac, something has to get done there, because he just was looking a whole mess. Like, I was like, wow, I forgot how bad you were.
Yeah, and let's also not jump to conclusions. Let's not think that a lack of movement isn't because we're not trying. Don't think for 1 minute.
Right.
Any disgruntled Arsenal fans, I'm pretty sure Arteta isn't begging Edu to let him have Kolasinac for 1 more season, or Willian. I'm pretty sure they're all in agreement that these players need to go, as do some of our Hibernian boys. They need to go out and get football. And like you said, it's just a case of trying to find the right buyer. And if we can't, then yeah, prepare yourself for the worst. And if that means that next season we've still got a few of those guys, then so be it.
Exactly. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to look at these questions. You guys make them obvious, like put a Q in front of them, because yeah, I'm having a hard time here. Not all of them. I see a question, I think. They're going so fast. Tyler is asking, should they be playing Nelson more than Willian when the season starts? I mean, it depends on who's here and who's not. Based on, I mean, I think Willian has more of a chance to be here than Nelson, because Nelson is an asset that can be moved. Somebody will either buy him or he can be loaned out. So personally, I feel like it doesn't really, I don't really think it makes a difference who should be playing more at this point, especially because in preseason games, you can pretty much play everybody the same amount of time. We saw both of them pretty much played a lot of minutes. So I'm not quite sure if it really makes a difference, because Willian will most likely be here unless we can move him on, and Nelson will most likely be on a loan or something. So I'm not really sure. I think the time to make a decision on who was supposed to have more playing time than who was last season. Now it's more just move them both on at some point,
Yeah, I mean, if we had to keep one, obviously I'd much prefer to keep Nelson, just because there's probably a little bit more, I don't know, desire there, or I don't know what for what reason, but I'd certainly be happy to see Willian leave. No disrespect to him, of course, but definitely want to close that book.
Somebody was asking why wasn't Rob Holding and Willick there. Before the game, the reports had come out that some players are not ready yet to come into preseason and start play games. So I don't really know who that is specifically, but Willick, is being pursued by Newcastle for a loan deal. So he may not be there because they're negotiating that quite quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if that was far along. And then Rob Holding, maybe his hair transplant isn't ready yet. He has to make sure that it's looking tight, it's filled in correctly before. No, I'm not sure why Rob's not here.
No, listen,
I haven't really seen a lot of Rob.
Jess, I think you're right. If he hits the ball, those new hairs, they'll fall out, and they just won't regrow back as quick. So yeah, I think you're right. I think he's just got to wait a few more weeks until he can heal properly. And Callum Chambers as well. I know Callum Chambers has been training, but obviously he wasn't in the squad. Perhaps, yeah, it's a case of them just staying at home until the next one.
Yeah, I mean, Usopp saying, well, will we take up Palace's offer on Chambers? I didn't even know that there was an offer for Chambers from Crystal Palace. I know that they put in an offer for Nketiah, and it was too low. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if Palace is interested in Chambers and we have Cedric and we're looking to bring in a right back, I don't think it's a big deal as long as we make our homegrown quota. Like, I thought Chambers was quite good towards the end of the season, but I think Cedric is okay as well. I don't really have a preference over one or the other. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I'd much prefer to keep Chambers over Cedric, 100%. 100%. I just think I don't think Cedric is. The more I see of him, I know it's only a friendly, so I don't want to contradict myself, but I just don't think he's particularly intelligent. I just think he's a little good stocky right back. He's good at overlapping, good at whacking the balls in, but I just don't think he's. I don't think he reads the game very well. Do you know what it is? I'm not a fan of Cedric. So I'm not. Out of Cedric, Bellerin, and Chambers, I'd much rather keep Chambers there. But that's just personal preference.
The way you said it, you're just like, it's not very smart. It's like,
yeah, no, I just don't feel like he's an intelligent fullback. But I don't want to be too harsh on him. It's just the vibe I get, and I'm a big fan of Callum Chambers, so I would like Chambers to stay.
Abdallah says, Harry, do you reckon Arsenal should keep a boomerang? Do we have a boomerang? Who is a boomerang? Not sure who that is. Or do you think we need to try and push for a top 6 finisher? Do you think you need him to try to push for a top six finish? First of all, who's a boomerang?
Yeah, exactly. Well, if a boomerang, if a boomerang is a Aubameyang, then I'm hoping a Aubameyang will come back like a boomerang to good form, and then we'll be okay. Thank you. It's really hard with a Aubameyang at the moment, isn't it? Because we're almost talking about what we've once seen, and not rather than what we've seen at the moment or what we saw last season. I think you need to keep Aubameyang because essentially he is our only proven goal scorer. And that's it. We know what Lacazette can give you, which is 15 goals a season, good work rate, and great for the young players. But Aubameyang is a 25 goal a season man. So it's more of a case of how do we supply him and how do we get him functioning? Then moving him on. And also, I don't think moving him on is an option, right? With the money he's on, I don't think he'll want to leave. So we have to try to make it work.
Nobody's going to pay him for that. Like, nobody's going to... Nobody is going to want to pay Aubameyang's wages.
Yeah,
after the last season that he had as well. We're stuck with Aubameyang. As much as I know people are like, well, why don't we just get rid of him? It's not happening. You know what I mean?
But it's less of a stuck than it is a Willian. With Willian, you've got someone who doesn't really offer you anything. But with Aubameyang, you know he can do it. You just have to get it out of him. Whereas with Willian, it looks like he just doesn't give two
He
S's, you
couldn't
know?
be asked. I mean, when
Yeah.
Kolasinac did that, he passed that ball to
For the
him
overlap,
for the
yeah.
overlap, and he was just like, nah. Like he was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, this guy, you know.
I know.
Yo-Yo asked, is the goalkeeper situation becoming a greater issue with every day that passes? I mean, I don't know what the goalkeeper situation is. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because the whole time that we were looking at Onana, I was like, or we were reportedly looking at Onana, I was like, so where's Leno going? You can't bring in another starting goalkeeper, you know, because basically Onana will want to be on the same wages as Leno. So essentially, you would have somebody that you've signed that can't play until November, that's also going to leave to go to the African Cup of Nations, that you're going to be paying the same amount as Leno. And then at the second half of the season, both of them are going to want to play. But essentially, you're paying two goalkeepers to do one job because we don't have Europe. So I never really understood, if Leno didn't leave this summer, how we were going to make that work. And then he's not been linked with anybody. So I don't know what the goalkeeper situation is. All I know for a fact is that we need a number 2. And I feel like the club should make it as use as limited resources on that position as possible. I don't actually think we need to be going out there getting anybody for 20, 30 million to be our backup, you know. So like Neto on a loan, you know, Barcelona is going through real bad troubles. See if you can get that Neto goalkeeper for a backup and just call it a day. But I can understand maybe why people are a little bit freaked out about it, because it doesn't actually make sense. Are you worried about the goalkeeper situation, or are you like, it's fine, it's going to be sorted?
I mean, I'm not sure if he's referring to like the first team goalkeeper or a backup goalkeeper. So with regards to Leno, I've said that I'd like us to upgrade. I think it's somewhere where we can improve, but like you said, I appreciate if no one's going to buy Leno, we just can't have another first choice goalkeeper. And when it comes to second choice, I mean, it is what it is. It's a backup goalkeeper that most likely will hardly ever play. So it's just probably about trying to find the right loan signing or the right free transfer. I know Matt Ryan went to Sociedad for first team football. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're working on it, but I don't think it's a huge priority for the Arsenal board. It would be for me, but for them, I just think it's a case of just waiting until the right offer comes along.
Yeah, for sure. And so just to close out here, I just think, of course, I hear you guys. I'm listening. I get that it's kind of like, wow, we just lost to Hibs. I get it. But I just want them to use the preseason as good as possible. And I know that for some people, that means we have to win every single game. That's not really what I'm looking for. Well, first of all, we have to get our transfers in, get them integrated, get our first team players, the players that we actually care about, ready to go. And then the style of play and stuff needs to come into play. And I don't really think we could have expected that out of just one game. Disappointing, but definitely not the end of the world for me. And, you know, after the last season or so, or last 2 seasons where Arteta didn't have a preseason, I would expect us to start out next season a lot better, considering the fact that we have this preseason. And it's been something that even Arteta has spoken about at his press conferences, that we didn't have a preseason, you know. So I would hope that they use it as good as possible, you know what I mean? But we'll just see what happens, you guys. I mean, are you worried, Harry? Are you worried? Did that deflate all your confidence in Arsenal, you know, getting to the promised land of the Champions League / Europe next season, or are you
No,
fine?
not at all. I'm totally fine with it. Like you say, you just take those games for what they are, which are pre-season runarounds where you can essentially 2-foot someone and get a booking, or you can commit a foul for a penalty and the ref doesn't book you. You know, they're weird games with almost different rules and different variables. But I will say that we do have some tough pre-season games coming up, so I hope the players are ready to step up their intensity, because you don't want to be going into Brentford, you know, with this grey cloud over you of just really poor preseason games. So it's important that for the next game we're up for it and ready. But in the same respect, brace yourself for another tough game, because Rangers is going to be hard. And as it shows today, playing Scottish opposition, I mean, they were going in really heavy on some of the challenges. They were not holding back. You know, for them, it's a good chance to impress and show show their boss, show other watching scouts or whoever it is that they can play at a high level. So there's a lot of players putting in challenges, and I think a few of our players were surprised. So we need to be ready when we face Steven Gerrard's Rangers, because it's going to be a tough pre-season friendly for sure.
100%. And so our next game is on Saturday, and then at some point the week, like next week, we'll do like a post-match for like both with all of us or something, and just kind of download on everything that we've seen so far before I go to Orlando and watch the boys play there. Please be better by then. Please be better by then. And I'm gonna try to get a chance to talk to Thomas Partey. Let's figure out a way for me to get there. You guys, I love him so much. He's so good. We didn't even talk about him, but I mean, he had to like just whatever. He just did whatever today. All right, guys. Talk to you guys next time. See you guys tomorrow. Figure out some content for tomorrow, of course, you know. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you.